Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, our driver ratings for the Austrian Grand Prix, a weekend which was very interesting. We saw a lot of drivers who normally wouldn't be in the points positions getting some points on the board. We saw a few drivers who should have been in the point positions not finishing the race, but it was an interesting one. We're going to break down all of it right now and give each driver a score between 1 and 10. Before we do, remember to like and subscribe, and of course a huge shout out to the members: Dakota, The Joy Exchange, Ryan Myers, Cinnamon Strudel, Michael Johnson, Mr. Eurovision 1986, Philip Dragansgic, No Edam on Sandwiches, and Sarah Jowett. If you want to become a member, click the link in the description down below. You can get all your shout outs and also get loads of videos early. Isn't that fun? Speaking of fun, wrong click. That one is what I meant to click. There we go. Oh no, the driver scores from last week are still up. Welcome everybody to the most professional F1 YouTube channel on the planet. Pay no attention to the scores on the side of the screen. Let's get rid of them. Oh my god, there's lots of drivers, isn't there? There we go. Woohoo, you saw nothing. That will not be edited out. Fantastic. Right, let's begin with Gabriel Bortoleto. He started 8th, he finished 8th, he got driver of the day, his first ever points in Formula 1. A fantastic weekend for him. He gets, unsurprisingly, a 10 out of 10. Wonderful stuff from him. I'm so happy for him. As I've said many times, I'm such a big fan of his. I made that video before the start of the season. F1's next big thing, Gabriel Bortoleto. I think he's done an incredible job here this weekend. You know, I've been saying in the weeks leading up to this that he hasn't had that moment yet. And for a lot of the time, I think it's because the Sauber was incapable of having that standout defining moment. But something happened like 3 weeks ago, maybe around about the Spanish Grand Prix, where maybe it was even before that a little bit, but still, around then, when they brought a big upgrade package, and since then the car has actually been workable. We've seen Hulkenberg get a good load of points. He's now inside the top 10 of the Drivers' Championship. Of course, we'll talk about him in a little bit. But yeah, he's been able to get good points, and now Bortoleto is able to get good points here as well. We know the Austrian track is a good track for him. It's where he got his first F2 win, and then went on, of course, to win that championship. So, a great job from him. I also love seeing his relationship with Max Verstappen as well. I think that's lovely. Max giving him a little bit of a toe in qualifying, and Bortoleto saying he always tries to give Max a toe back, which is always quite nice. But there you go, a 10 out of 10 for Gabriel Bortoleto. Hopefully the start of many good things for that young man, who hopefully will have a very bright future. Across to his teammate Nico Hulkenberg, as I said, I believe this is 3 races in a row now he has scored points at. He is now in the top 10 of the championship, which is unbelievable. In a Sauber driver is in the top 10 of the championship. You may be mistaken for thinking this is 2008, but it's not. It's 2025. The team, which last year only scored points at 1 race all year, now has a driver in the top 10. Wonderful stuff, thanks to Nico Hulkenberg. Qualifying, dreadful. Qualified dead last. 20th place he qualified, but fought through the pack, did incredibly well, finished up in P9, wasn't too far behind his teammate, all things considered. A double points finish for the Sauber team, deserves a double 10 out of 10 for the Sauber team. They'll be incredibly happy with that one. Their first double points finish since, I believe, the 2023 Qatar Grand Prix. So, fantastic stuff for Sauber. But of course, when one team does well, it means that there must be other teams who aren't doing as well. And the team that was not doing as well was Williams, starting off with Alexander Albon. He qualified in 12th place and did not finish the race with a mechanical failure around about lap 17. Was in a good position, to be fair, was the big gainer of the first laps. I think gained about 5 places on the first lap alone, was making some good moves, was up inside the top 10, I think was around about P7 by the time he had to retire from the race. But to retire from the race he did after 17 laps. So it's a hard one to rate, realistically, for him. I mean, part of me feels like just give him a 6 because it was such a good start, and then wasn't really much he could do from there. I feel that's relatively. You know what? If you don't like it, write it down on a piece of paper, fold it up, and put it in any bin nearby, and it'll come back to me. I promise you that. So yeah, he's getting a 6. I'm doing it. There you go. But yeah, Williams, not a good weekend. Not a good weekend for Carlos Sainz. Qualified in 19th place and did not start the race. Complained of the car feeling all wrong in qualifying. And then if that came through to the race itself, possibly there as well, because couldn't get away from the grid on the formation lap. Did eventually get away from the grid to go for a pit lane start where both his rear brakes lit on fire. Yeah, we're not going to rate him. That's what we do with a do not start. You just go unrated. So we'll miss him out on this weekend, which is a shame, but you can't really give a rating for a guy who didn't start the race. That's not fair. So we'll just skip Carlos Sainz there, but yeah, bad weekend for the Williams team. A team who started the season so incredibly well. And I think they're still 5th in the championship. But over the last 3 race weekends, they have scored a grand total of 1 point, which makes them the lowest scoring team of the last 3 race weekends. So a good start to the season for Williams, but appearing to hit their first major hurdle of the season. Hopefully can turn it around next weekend at Silverstone. Let's move on to the Racing Bulls. And very much a story of 2 halves here for the Racing Bulls, as it has been for most of the year. I can't really remember the last time we had a Racing Bulls race where both drivers did tremendously well. It's normally one does quite well and the other one does okay or not too good. And we follow that through into this weekend as well. But what's quite strange is that this time, it was Isaac Hadjar who did not too good. In a race weekend where Racing Bulls had tremendous pace and showed that all the way through practice, Hadjar had a bit of a stumble in qualifying, only managing 13th place. Then in the race itself could only manage to finish up in 12th. Something very un-Hadjar-like, it has to be said. Another guy who has done tremendously well at the start of the year, much like the Williams team. And yeah, not too good for him here. I'm going to give him a 4. Really did not capitalise on the tremendous pace that Racing Bulls turned up this weekend with, but hopefully he can turn it around next time. But this man did. This man fully captured all the pace that the Racing Bulls had this weekend, and I am so happy for him. I said in my race reactions that he was my driver of the day. He was the one that I voted for in the driver of the day vote, and he wasn't even in the top 3. But there you go. I thought he did so well. Qualifying in 6th made him the highest qualifying Red Bull affiliated driver on the grid. Finishing in 6th made him the highest finishing Red Bull affiliated driver on the grid. His greatest ever F1 result. Some fantastic points for himself and for the team. Did some wonderful racing out there as well. Made the one-stop work. Pushed those tyres really well in the first stint. And you know what? I said it over and over and over again, but I'm so happy for him because he's had such a tough year. You know, the Red Bull stuff at the start where you just could not understand that car. Then after only 2 races was dropped by the team. Confidence just destroyed. People online were dreadful to him as well. You saw a lot of hate for Liam Lawson. And then, you know, to just have that and have to just continue going and go out and obviously face a hell of a lot of questions from the media every single week, but we've seen him over the course of the last 4 or 5 races. He's just gotten better and better and better. And I said it a few weeks ago at the Spanish Grand Prix that there was a few overtakes I saw him make. I think it was against Albon, where he was fighting Albon, and you could see his confidence was coming back, and that's what we've seen from Liam Lawson. And he's got to this point here where he's delivered and got a really good result in there. I'm giving him a 10 out of 10. I think he's done fantastically well. I think he's an inspiration to the youth of today. If you get pushed down, just think about Liam Lawson. He fought back. He's done well. Hopefully, he continues to do well throughout the next few race weekends. I'm so happy for him. Well done, Mr. Lawson. Across to Ollie Behrman now, and not a great race weekend for him. It didn't look like it was going to be a too good race weekend for the Haas team in general. A track where they've scored some of their highest points ever is the Red Bull Ring. So we came into this weekend thinking, well, Haas will definitely do well here. But throughout practice, they showed very little pace whatsoever. And into qualifying, they didn't show too much good pace either. Ocon was able to get something out of it in the race, and their race pace was better than their qualifying, both drivers moving up a few positions throughout the race. Ollie Behrman went from 15th to 11th, just missing out on points at the end there, not too far behind his teammates. I'm gonna give him a 7. out of 10. I think that's pretty fair for Ollie there. There we go. But let's move across to Esteban Ocon, who did a bit better than Ollie Behrman. Not in qualifying, though. In qualifying, he would finish up in 17th place, but had some tremendous race pace. Finished up in 10th place to get 1 point for the Haas team. A very good result for Ocon. I think he'll be happy with that there. Get some points on the board. It feels like it's been a while since Haas have scored points. I'm going to quickly double-check that. I don't want to be lying on the internet. I was lying. They scored 2 points in literally the last race weekend. But yeah, still, good points for Haas. I'm going to give him a 10. I think it's probably the most lenient 10. I don't feel it is a 10. I know it's a Haas scoring points. But I don't think it's a... I'm going to move it down to a 9. And that might be a bit mean. And you may disagree. I'm sticking with 9, though. But if I am bullied in the comments, I can change it to a 10. So there's your little incentive there. Oh dear, it's Franco Colapinto. Looks like the whole 5-race thing was a lie, which was very strange because it was Alpine who said it. But anyway, Franco Colapinto, this was his 5th race of the initial 5 that they gave him. No indication that it was his last race for the team in any way. And for him, very interesting. So qualified in 14th place, finished up in 15th place, but my God, got into quite a few altercations along the way, including the moment between him and Yuki Tsunoda, which we'll talk about a bit later on, which wasn't his fault. But then later on, he is fighting Yuki Tsunoda, tries to go to grab some slipstream from Yuki Tsunoda, does not look in his mirrors, and nearly takes out Oscar Piastri, lapping him in 2nd place. Not a good look, Franco, but there we go. I can't give him too high of a score because of that. That's just really stupid. Firstly, on his behalf, should have looked in his mirrors, but secondly, his engineer should be like, get out the bloody way. P2's coming through. So I'm going to give him a 2. There you go. 2 for Franco. But the Alpine did look absolutely dreadful this weekend, as shown by this man. Pierre Gasly had a very good qualifying. Qualified in the top 10. Obviously caused that spin in qualifying as well that messed up so many laps. So didn't truly have a reflective Q3 lap, but nonetheless very good to get to Q3 in the first place. And then seemingly just from the start to the end of the race, the Alpine was relatively undrivable, and I think realistically he did quite well with what he had, finishing up in 13th place. I'm going to give him a 6, and then we're going to move on to talk about this man, who is, his name's Lance Stroll, if you haven't heard of him before. He qualified in 16th, finished up in 14th place. The only thing I can remember of him in the race is I think he at one point got hit by Yuki Tsunoda, who was just on a streak of pissing off everyone this weekend. And apart from that, I can't tell you a single thing he did. When we read 16th to 14th, you think, oh, that's actually quite good. But when you look at the actual results themselves, there was 4 guys who didn't finish the race, and then the 2 behind him were Colapinto and Tsunoda, who were trying their hardest to not finish the race. So realistically, Lance Stroll just had a little race of his own where he just kept himself to himself and just got to the end and still was not very good, especially when you consider how good his teammate was doing. And you know, we had this whole conversation around Aston for most of the first half of this year, and it has been, well, Lance Stroll has scored all these points and Fernando Alonso has scored none. In the last 3 races alone, Fernando Alonso has now caught up to Lance Stroll's point scoring, so they're on identical points. I think they're both on 13, which is ironic. Well, not ironic, really. It's really indicative of the Aston Martin team that both of their drivers have scored the unlucky number. But there we go. Lance Stroll, I'm going to give him a 3, and we're going to move on to this man who is fantastic, and I love him, and he's the best. It's Fernando Alonso, who qualified in 11th, finished up in 7th place. Fantastic race from him. Again, really, really good points. The fight between him and Bortoleto at the end was beautiful and everything I want from racing. Really good racing mixed with a love story of a man and the person he manages as a young driver. Really, really good stuff. Really, really good points. He nearly crashed into Lando Norris on the last race and ruined the entire thing, but who cares? He didn't crash into him. It was fine. In the end, he gets a 10 out of 10 from me. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Kimi Antonelli. Oh dear. So, an okay qualifying to qualify ninth. Not great, but again, who knows how that yellow flag affected everything. And to be fair, Antonelli's qualifying is his major downfall at this point in his career, which is obviously incredibly early in his career. And it seems to be a lot of drivers struggle with qualifying at their early points, and that just gets better and better. We saw that with Piastri most recently. Max Verstappen was a big one as well, where his qualifying, even in 2021, Max's qualifying wasn't very good, and it's just got better and better and better. So qualifying in ninth, then he made it nearly 3 corners before it looked like he has kind of misjudged the braking zone of the cars in front of him, got a bit caught out, had a massive lockup, and crashed into a 4-time world champion. So there you go. Not great, Kimi, but, he's a rookie. It's a rookie mistake. I feel like there's a lot of love for Kimi, and it's understandable because, firstly, he's very talented, and secondly, he just seems like a super nice guy. So there's a lot of love for Kimi. If this was like, say, a Lance Stroll, there would be a lynch mob hunting him down. But Kimi Antonelli does it, and they go, don't worry, it's fine. But yeah, overall, not good, and I can't give him a good score. He's getting a 2, but, again, rookie mistake. He shall bounce back, I am sure. George Russell next in the Mercedes team, qualified in 5th, finished in 5th. He kind of played the Lewis Hamilton role this weekend, where Lewis Hamilton for basically all this season has had this role of he's not fast enough to catch the guys in front of him, but he's too fast for anyone behind him to catch him, and normally finishes around about 5th. And that's what George Russell did today. I mean, there was a part at the start of the race where it looked like he was going to challenge Hamilton, but I think realistically he had to get past Hamilton at that point because Hamilton just ran away from there. But yeah, he did the best he could, realistically. I don't think he could have done any better. I'm not going to give him a 10 out of 10 for finishing 5th, but I will give him a 9. Well done, Mr. Russell. Yuki Tsunoda. Oh, right. So, qualified in 18th, finished in 16th. And you go, oh, well, at least he gained a few positions. He was the last of the finishers. The 4 people behind him all didn't finish the race. Got into an incident with Lance Stroll, as we discussed. Got into an incident with Franco Colapinto, as we discussed. Got a 10-second time penalty. At one point had to change his front wing. Just finished right at the back. Awful, realistically. And, there's a lot of discussion around going, oh, is it the car, is it the driver? And trust me, it's the car, because we've known that for years now. And the fact that, we're now saying, oh, it's obviously the car, is ridiculous, because we've known for a long time that car is relatively undrivable, and somehow Max Verstappen is just getting stuff out of it. And I see a lot of people go, oh, it's made for Max's driving style, that's why he's getting stuff out of it. If it's made for Max's driving style, why has he been spending the last year struggling to drive it? Just bloody pay attention. Yeah, it's an awful, awful car, and it's doing very badly. But still, Yuki Tsunoda should have done better than last. And to get into some of the incidents that he did get into was just ridiculous. And I saw as well, obviously this was the Red Bull didn't score any points this weekend. Red Bull had the second longest consecutive streak of scoring points for a constructor in F1 history. I believe it was 77 races. The longest streak of all time for scoring points for a constructor, I believe, is 81 races. So Red Bull were closing in on a record until this weekend. And obviously, Max could not do much to avoid a arrow of Kimi Antonelli coming into the side pod there. So all the hopes of the team lay solely on the shoulders of young Tsunoda. And he didn't deliver at all. Not only did he have no pace, he got into some really, really stupid accidents, got some penalties, and that was kind of just it. Very disappointing, not good enough, and I know the car's awful, but the performance was awful as well. So, Yuki Tsunoda, 1. Up next, Max Verstappen. A weekend which you could just summarise with the word unlucky, because in qualifying he qualifies 7th, which obviously is not good enough for Max Verstappen, But when you look at what actually happened, his first run on Q3 was on used tyres because we had one set of the new tyres, moves across to the new tyres for the end of Q3, the yellow flag comes out, ruins his lap from there, can't capitalise on it, only 7th. Then in the race itself, seems to make an okay start, then just gets hit by Antonelli, nothing he could do. Realistically, it's a hard one to score for him because, I mean, realistically, what was there? But I'm just going to give him a 5 and just move on. To Lewis Hamilton, who qualified in 4th, finished up in 4th. His joint best result of the year. Had a bit of an argument with his engineer once again at one point about the strategy. He wanted to kind of go longer on the tyres than he did. But realistically, I don't think that would have changed anything because, like I said, he was too fast for George Russell to catch, and I don't think he was ever really in the same postcode as Charles Leclerc for this race, but, did okay in the end. I'm going to give him a 9. I feel that is rather generous, but there we go. We'll move on to Charles Leclerc, who qualified a wonderful 2nd place and finished up in 3rd. A good result. I mean, realistically, he was never going to challenge the top 2. And the reason he was on the front row is because Oscar didn't get to do a 2nd fast lap. But, he got that lap in first. He did really well. Got overtaken at the start, but realistically, he was always going to lose that position. Then just ran a good race from there. I mean, if Max was still in the race, maybe there would have been a challenge for 3rd, but there you go. What is the point in asking if? Let's just focus on what actually happened. What actually happened was a pretty perfect race from Charles Leclerc where he couldn't really do much better than he did. So a 10 out of 10. Across to this man, Oscar Piastri qualified in P3, finished up in P2. As I said, his last lap was ruined by the yellow flag as well, which was a bit annoying for him. But perfect start for him, absolutely perfect. Had to get past Leclerc into the first corner, which he did. Challenged Lando into the 3rd corner. Of course, that was then kind of slowed down a little bit by the safety car coming out. But off the back of the safety car, stuck with Lando really well. Fantastic battles. Some could say he went a bit too far on that one dive into turn 4, but still fighting for everything that he had. That flat spot, though, kind of ruined his race because in the section between the two McLaren cars pitting, for some reason he went 4 laps longer on a car with a flat-spotted tyre, which built that gap, and he never really cut it back down. I know at the end he was within 2 seconds of Lando, but I always felt like Lando was fully in control, and the gap kind of got cut down just because of traffic. In the second half of that race, I never fully was convinced at any point that Oscar was going to catch Lando Norris from there. But overall, a very good race from Oscar Piastri, who is still the championship leader. I'm going to give him a 9. It wasn't perfect, but it was very good. Cross to Lando Norris, a fantastic pole lap, gives him pole position by half a second, the biggest margin of the year so far. Then from there, good start and just controlled the race really, really well. You can tell the pace that he had at the start of this race, where Oscar Piastri is getting DRS on him at 3 separate points in the track, but he still was just fully in control, seemed comfortable at all times, controlled the pace really, really well, was eking a gap out, the word is comfortable. It was a very comfortable win. I said yesterday, I think this is his best ever win. I don't remember ever seeing him just glide to victory like this. It's very reminiscent of a Verstappen or a Hamilton type of win, where they just get pole, they just run away, and we see them at the end. Of course, there was the battle between him and Oscar at the start, but he coped with that really well. Really good stuff. Perfect. 10 out of 10 for Lando Norris. So there you go, that is our driver ratings. We have 10s for Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Liam Lawson, Nico Hülkenberg, and Gabriel Bortoleto. Lowest rating of the day goes to Yuki Tsunoda with a 1, and of course Carlos Sainz goes unrated because he did not start the race. There you go, that is our driver ratings. Make sure to let us know what you think. We're back next weekend for all things British Grand Prix. See you then. Until next time, have a good one. Goodbye.